Hello and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I am a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and stick around. Also, if you need help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. I also have some self-study courses about manifesting your specific person. And I do have a members-only channel with a lot of perks for members, including weekly live workshops with a different manifesting topic each week, weekly live group coaching, a lot of exclusive content, monthly challenges for a chance to win a free one-on-one coaching session with me, and a lot more. So if you're interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website or to my membership channel. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the subtle but quite important difference between persisting in your manifestation and insisting. I want to explain the difference between the two because it's quite important and it's something that a lot of people get wrong. And I want you guys to get the concept of it because one, persisting specifically is what gets you your manifestation, whereas insisting is actually what keeps it away from you. So this is what I'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. So persisting versus insisting. At first glance, they might sound like synonyms. They might sound like they're the same thing. They are different words for the same concept. However, when it comes to conscious manifesting, they are actually very different. And as I said in my intro, the difference is subtle, but it's very important. And knowing the difference between the two makes all the difference between getting your manifestation and your manifestation still remaining away from you. So persisting, you guys, when it comes to manifesting a desire, any desire, has everything to do with your state of being. In other words, your mental state, your emotional state, when it comes to that situation, that desire, that manifestation, your expectations, your assumptions, your beliefs, how you feel about the situation, what you're thinking about the situation, what you're expecting out of the situation, what meanings you give to things that happen around or in relation to that situation or that desire. And as we've said in many other videos, you want to be in a state that is somehow aligned with what you want to be manifesting. So your mental and emotional state, your perceptions, your state of being, in other words, needs to be persistent in a state that is aligned to what you want to be experiencing or what you want to be manifesting, that desire fulfilled. Also, I've said it in other videos and I'm going to say it here again, that persistence does not necessarily mean persisting in doing the techniques, doing your affirmations all the time, doing scripting all the time, visualizing all the time, doing inner conversations, meditating all the time. There's nothing wrong in doing these things and doing them consistently, but you want to be doing them in order to get into the right state. So you want to be doing these techniques, you want to be using these techniques as tools to help you get into the right state, into a state that is aligned with your desire. So if you're visualizing, you want that visualization to help you feel like the person who already has their desire. You want to catch that feeling of, I have it already, I'm going to have it, I'm expecting to have it, I'm anticipating it, and so on. This is where the true persistence comes in. It doesn't matter if you're doing your affirmations 100 times a day or just once a day, because if you're doing them 100 times a day, but you're still in your mental and emotional state, in your state of being, in the old story, then it's as if you're not doing them. On the other hand, you could be doing your affirmations for all of 2 minutes once a day, and that is enough for you to put you in that state of the wish fulfilled, in that state of being where you know that your desire is yours. It feels natural to you, and that's all you need throughout the day, and you're good. So it has everything to do with your dominant state of being when it comes to that desire that you're manifesting. That is the persistence, you guys. That is what you're persisting in. You are persisting in always bringing yourself into a state of being that aligns with what you want to experience, what you're desiring, what you want to see manifested in the 3D, and so on. And of course, you might have noticed that as I've been talking about persistence, I didn't mention anything about the 3D. I didn't mention anything about doing anything in the 3D. And the reason I didn't mention it is because at the end of the day, it's not relevant. It is your inner persistence, your inner revisiting of that state of the wish fulfilled constantly and consistently that brings about your manifestation, that causes the 3D to rearrange itself to bring you your desire, that brings your desire to you. And in most cases, it's not something that you do in the 3D. I will say in some cases, you might be led and called to take some inspired action in the 3D when you are in that aligned state. And that's absolutely fine. If that is the case, go ahead and take that action. But for the most part, it's not about what you're doing in the 3D. For the most part, it's what you're doing within, who you are being within, who you are persisting within as identifying as. And this is ultimately what you end up manifesting. Now, when it comes to insistence, this is where the 3D comes in. And this is where people tend to mess things up or tend to get confused because insistence is being overly attached to a specific outcome in the 3D, looking at the 3D all the time for movement, trying to grab things in the 3D, push things in the 3D, force things to change or to happen or to move forward in the 3D. And in other words, you are trying to replace and substitute your subconscious mind, your higher self that is working on your manifestation through your actions in the 3D. And usually these actions, you guys, come from a state of lack. They usually come from a state of, if I don't do anything in the 3D, it's not going to happen. So you end up pushing things, you end up manipulating, you end up trying to force things to happen or to change. And of course, those of you who have had this experience can probably attest to the fact that it rarely works. Or it works a little bit and then things go back to where they were. Or you see sometimes the opposite manifesting through all this insistence and all this pushing and all this forcing. Or you don't see any change. In any event, you are not seeing the results and the outcomes that you want and that you're hoping for. And this is because if you are out there in the 3D trying to force, trying to push, trying to manipulate, chances are that you are not in a mental and emotional state that is actually aligned with having your desire. You are in an opposing state. You are in a state of, I need to push to make things happen, otherwise they're not going to happen. And so you end up keeping your manifestation away from you for longer because you are approaching it from a state of, what do I need to do? What more should I do? What am I doing wrong? How can I strategize so that the 3D changes in my favor? You're not trusting. You're not persisting in the state of the wish fulfilled. You're not persisting in being the person internally who already has whatever it is that you desire. And instead, you are putting yourself in the position and in the state of being the person who does not have their desire, who is pushing and scheming and plotting and manipulating and forcing to get their desire. And in so doing, you end up keeping your desire farther away from you. So this is it, you guys. This is the subtle but big and important difference between persisting in your desire, persisting in your state, and insisting about your desire, trying to bring it forth from a state that is not aligned with actually having your desire. And this is why the first state is what brings you your manifestation, whereas the second state, if you keep persisting in the state of insistence, just keeps your manifestation and your desire eluding you. So you always want to be persisting in your aligned state, and you want to drop the insistence and the force in the 3D. If you do that, and once you do that, you are going to see the 3D shifting in your favor effortlessly, naturally, very, very easily, and in many cases, very, very quickly as well. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.